The New York Mets have been forced into an impossible decision for the team moving forwards, as there's been a lot of discourse surrounding some of the positions and where some players should go. And after a very, very hot streak for one of the Mets' young prospects, there is now a bunch of questions looming with one of the stars out with an injury long-term as well. And we're going to break all this down. So a lot to talk about, guys. What's up? Welcome back to Mets Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into things as always. And guys, if you're part of that 72% that's not subscribed to Mets Digest, this is the place to be for all New York Mets content. Every day, we are getting out great videos to you guys, or most days. We're going to get back on that everyday schedule very, very soon, so we can give you guys all the Mets content in the world to the point where you're going to be sick of hearing about the Mets, man. That's how much we're going to be coming at you soon, so strap in, stay tuned. But until then, Carlos Mendoza's got an interesting decision that he's going to have to make, as the Mets have been forced into truly an impossible decision here. Obviously, the Mets have had a good season. They've been the best record in baseball consistently. Things are panning out well. Kodai Senga looks like the Cy Young, or one of the Cy Young candidates. If you are in New York, you see that All Sports News Today has him at second. I think there's a good argument that he could be the Cy Young right now. On top of that, what we've seen is a New York Mets team that showed a lot of strength that is very promising going into things, especially with Juan Soto still just warming up and not yet being the full Juan Soto experience that we know is going to come as time goes on and on as he gets more comfortable in his role. But where things stand right now, the New York Mets have found themselves in a tough decision in regards to young player Brett Baty. The reason is because Baty, who was a first-round pick for the Mets in 2019, came up in 2022 and looked very promising at first. However, things definitely did take a bit of a turn, and now where things stand, it's been a few years, and Baty has really not been exactly what Mets fans have been hoping for thus far into his career. I think everyone around baseball, if you're a baseball fan in general, you expected Brett Baty to show up and be the future third baseman for the Mets for the next 10 to 15 years. However, that's not what we've seen yet. We haven't seen Baty fully settle into his role with the New York Mets. We've seen him struggle a lot throughout his MLB career thus far, and it was brought up by a Mets analyst that there's a lot going on with him, and James Nolan said that Brett Baty has always had potential that he can never seem to fully maximize. After a torrid spring training, the former top prospect looked like he might finally be turning a corner, only to get sent down to AAA in April. After a rough start to the regular season, but an injury to Jesse Winker opened up a roster spot and gave Baty a second chance. Now, Baty himself said everybody's journey in this game is different, and I'm thankful for every single part of mine. So Baty is in good spirits despite the fact that things have not worked out exactly as his career has panned out thus far. However, there still is a lot to look forward to with him, and he has been raking it recently. Right now, he's got a .273 batting average in his last 20 games with 15 hits, 5 home runs, and 11 RBIs with 8 runs scored. He's looking like the guy who all Mets fans were waiting for years once he finally got called up, and everyone was really excited about it. It was an exciting time. It looked like it was going to work out initially, and now what we're seeing for the first time really is this streak that Brett Baty is showing that he is that guy. He has that potential. He does have it. It's not that it's just lost. He could easily still be that guy. He's young, and there's a lot of hype still around him. But Baty this season, now his numbers are good because of this stretch as well, because so far, he's had 73 at-bats, and these last 20 games, he's looked very, very good. So it's a huge, huge sign for the Mets. And look, he's got a .233 batting average on the season. Again, it was really, really rough prior to this stretch. Also, 11 RBIs, 8 runs scored, 1 stolen base as well, with a .770 OPS and an OPS plus of 116. So now his stats are above offensive average. The average OPS is .750. He's at a .770. Average OPS plus is 100. He's at 116. So for the season, just because this hot streak now, Brett Baty has been above average on offense for the year. Again, as we know, it's new, but still, what we're seeing in the biggest stretch of his career is looking like that infielder who the New York Mets gave a first-round pick for, as it felt like a perfect choice at the time. Longtime top prospect for the Mets as well. So prior to this, his career had not been panning out. I mean, a 217 batting average with an OPS of 627 and an OPS plus of 75. Not what you wanted to see, but his slugging percentage is up to a 507, where for his career average is a 347. So a 160 point jump right there, which is huge. The on-base percentage is actually lower this year, but again, he had a rough start to the season, so it's not something we should really be overzealous about. However, now there's a bunch of questions surrounding what to do with Brett Baty and the rest of this Mets team. I mean, as we've seen from James Nolan, every time Baty underperformed, he's been sent down to AAA. That's where he would make the Mets question the player he is, as he rakes it in at an elite level in the minors. Across 6 minor league seasons, the young infielder has put up a 283 batting average with an 889 OPS. This creates something of a catch-22 for Carlos Mendoza and the New York Mets. The only way to know for sure whether Baty is a part of this team's future is to give him a runway of regular playing time. But it's hard to do so when the Mets have been burned by his hot stretches before. This is not his first hot stretch, so this is his best, but it's not his first. So it's a trust issue right now more than anything, it feels like. And Baty mentioned that with Jesse Winker out, the Mets need a DH. With the way that Baty is hitting, it would make sense to move Mark Vientos into that role and allow Baty to play third base. Vientos' defense isn't superb, so it gives the Mets a better chance, a better defense by shuffling things around. But the only way that occurs consistently is if Baty continues to hit. And therein lies the problem, as Nolan mentions, because that has not always happened, so it makes things pretty difficult. Now, Jesse Winker, who went down, has been a solid player for the Mets. I mean, the numbers are all right. There were moments where they were better, but in 67 at-bats, he's batting a 239 average. He has 1 home run. His OPS is a 738. OPS plus is a 111. So we saw some average production from Winker. There were stretches where he looked great with the Mets, especially early on. So there are things to like about him, and he is down. He's on the 10-day DL here, but that's also partially the Mets just still trying to figure things out with Winker because, as he mentioned, he felt something in his side where he threw the ball home in the 3rd inning, and since then, what we've seen is Jesse Winker just, now he's out for 6 to 8 weeks. So it's a long stretch that we're not going to see him put on a Mets jersey. And because of that, this is not just a very short-term answer. This is for the next month. This is into July that we're going to be seeing Brett Baty most likely on this Mets team. And it makes way more sense to have him fielding instead of just DHing because the hitting has been the consistent issue. The fielding's there. It's about getting the hitting there. So I think it makes perfect sense for the Mets to do this right now. I think it makes perfect sense for the Mets to use Baty at third base and put Vientos in that DH role. You can move around DHs because you can move Baty to second for 1 or 2 games, or if you want to shift around and get some days off, stuff like that. Obviously, second is pretty good right now with Acuna, and then also just having Jeff McNeil on the roster as well makes things a little bit difficult there. But look, what I'm saying is the New York Mets have some players that they can shuffle around if they need to, but right now it would make sense to do that. Vientos, on the season, he's got a 245 batting average. He's hit 5 home runs and 147 at-bats. He's got an OPS of 714 and an OPS plus of 105. So his offense has been around average, maybe a tiny bit below average, but really more than anything, what we'd be seeing is a guy who totally could show up and play that DH role for now while the Mets figure out a longer-term solution for this. So we'll see what happens. Guys, what do you want to see happen? Let me know in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day. I'll catch you on the next one.